Okay, good morning, beloved of the Lord. So, we are going to talk about marriage, Adam and Eve, LGBTQ, because it seems like it's something that's strange today, but marriage has existed since Eden, since creation. There is so much wind about increased marriage institutions rather than the marriage we know of a man and a woman. We have other marriages for lesbians, for gays, queer people, and you wonder, is it really anything new? In the Bible, we had such incidences, like in the time of the antediluvians, when God destroyed the earth during the flood. We had funny marriages. And also in the time of Sodom, there were still such kind of queer marriages. And remember how God destroyed them. Why is it a predicament? While the Bible has authorized only one form of marriage, that of one man, Adam, and one Eve. It seems that our tests or the test of the people has become perverted, and even the sensibilities of people is no longer the same. Though we have seen that it is not anything new under the earth, it happened and God brought destruction upon human beings for such perverted tests. When you read Genesis chapter 2 from verse 18, God saw that it was not good for a man to live alone. And as Adam slept, God took one of his ribs and made a woman. God did not make for Adam another man for his rib. And even God said that a man shall leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Now, where do people get the idea that a man shall leave his parents and be joined to another man? While even his parents is just a man and a woman, a father and a mother. Those are not two men. Those are a man and a woman. And you know how blissful it is a marriage ended following the command of God. But in marriages where people do not follow the express commands of God, we hear many atrocities that come out of them. Eve was created from a rib taken from the side of Adam, thus signifying that she was not to control him as the head, nor to be trampled under his feet as an inferior. Marriage was a gift from God to man, and it is a blessing when the divine principles are recognized and obeyed. It actually guards the purity and happiness of the race, and it provides for man's social needs. It elevates the physical, the intellectual, and the moral nature of man. And even remember at Cana, Christ celebrated a marriage there. And the marriage was actually between a husband and a wife, not between two women or two men or two queers, whatever. But Christ honored that marriage because it followed the divine command of God. But now, inspiration talks to us when you read testimonies on sexual behavior. adultery, divorce, chapter 16, page 119, paragraph 3. There we see that the servant of God wrote to church members that we need to fast and pray, striving earnestly to overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Yes, because the world is really perverted today. She goes on to say that not one particle of sodomitish impurity will escape the wrath of God at the execution of the judgment. Those who do not repent of and forsake all uncleanness will fall with the wicked. Those who become members of the royal family and form God's kingdom in the earth made new will be saints, not sinners. When you read Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1 to 3, 8 to 16. Yeah, we will not escape the wrath of God. May God help us, because God is so holy. Marriage is actually very holy. It's a very holy institution. Indulgence in unlawful things has become a power to deprave mankind. Yeah. And even to dwarf the mind and to pervert the faculties. Just such a state of things as exists today. Today, such state of things as they exist. They existed before the flood, as I told you about the antediluvians, and even before the destruction of Sodom. Yeah, everyone knows about the story of Sodom. That's not a new story. And you see, it was recorded in the Bible for us, for a time such as today. Now, we know that the story of the destruction of Sodom is from Genesis chapter 19. And we remember we read that at evening, Lot welcomed two angels. But that day before they even slept, all the men of the city of Sodom compassed the house round of Lot. And these men were old and even the young. That this practice, maybe one person went to Sodom, they started practicing this, that person taught the other people. As people increased, they taught each other until the Bible gives us a record that all the men of the city of Sodom, both old and even the young, all of them, they compassed the house of Lot, and they demanded that the angels be released to them so that they could sleep with them. These are men, and the men who went to visit Lot, the new men, so that they can also teach them this vile practice of sodomy, which people are very proud. Some people are very proud. Even you see in YouTube people talking about how proud they are. They have married another man. And even displaying and even showing how they are showing them love. Surely, may God have mercy upon us. We will all perish. Because these practices are not only being done by heathens, they are done by Christians, even in the priesthood, even in those ministries where even you cannot even imagine such atrocities can be committed. May God have mercy upon us. Let's fast and cry upon God to save us from these sickly atrocities that are actually, they are in our households. Even little children do this, boys, girls. They are in our households, in our churches, everywhere. They are just rampant. They are there. Even sometimes you invite somebody into your house and they teach that to your children, thinking that that's an angle. He goes to sleep with your boy in the bedroom, in one bed, and they teach them. So many cases that happen and people don't come up and talk about it. And even children, they don't talk about it. They do it. And you wonder, everything is happening that's wrong. May God help us Christians, especially if you have children. You need to pray for them. In whatever school they are in, whether it's a Christian school or not, they are happening everywhere. Boys sleeping with boys, girls sleeping with girls, and these things no one is ready to discuss. No one is even discussing about it. And children are introduced into these things very early in life. But thanks to God, some children get saved at a later stage in life and they marry. But others, they stick there. And even some people, though they have married, they are still committing these atrocities. Even marriage has not saved them from doing such atrocities. So may God help us. What happened to the men of Sodom? First, the angels smote those men with blindness, remember? And later, the angels destroyed that great city with fire. We know that story. And we are no better. Eh? With this great iniquity like this, how could we hope and assume that it is of smaller magnitude before our righteous God than it was 4,000 years ago? How do we imagine that it is of smaller magnitude? That it's normal, it's happening. So this LGBTQ thing coming up right now is just confirming what has been happening, because these things have been happening in our households, in our schools, in our churches, by big people. Even I know of a man who was a master guide, a very prominent youth, but he taught all the boys in that church these atrocities, all the boys in Nairobi. And not only him, everywhere in the world it's happening. Wives are even finding that their husbands have been gays and they have married them, and even husbands find that they have married lesbian wives. You see, the devil is a liar. Satan is a liar and has lied to us that there is love and peace in such atrocities. And we live in such lies for a long time, and some people, they never come out of these lies of the evil one. The truth is that though, when people follow their own wills instead of God's will, that which was begun with mirth ends in weariness and disgust, and their souls fail to reach satisfaction and joy. Yeah, I'll do this, beginning with mirth, thinking what pleasure, how pleasurable it will be. But in the end, all this will end up in weariness of body, disgust of soul. And even there's no satisfaction and joy at the end. All of this is vanity of vanities. But the image that Satan gives us, and that makes people to think that there is pleasure in it, is such a colorful image. It's like you get a box that is really covered with a colorful, beautiful package, but when you open inside, there is nothing. It's vanity of vanities, as Solomon said. May God help me and you to allow Christ to restore the marriage forms and thoughts and institutions into our lives. For if we shall abide in the will of God, the gift of marriage shall increase joy and blessings in our lives. Much more, God help us to overcome the new strange wretched unions that the world is fueling youths, especially youths, into hell. youths, children, everyone is being fueled and is being shown, that's a normal thing. It should be happening like that. And it is done out of evil lust and infatuations. And these lusts are from the pits of hell, the pits of Satan. They are meant in the pits of hell. You see, these unions, the LG, lesbian, gayism, queers, whatever, they are only productive of vast amounts of evil in the lives of those who enter them. What amounts of evil? In Kenya, the other day, we heard of such a union. A man is already married with a wife and even has a child, but he goes ahead to have another union with another man whom he ends up killing. And that man was a priest. You see? A committed Christian. Of course, we know that Christian is just a name nowadays. And later, he kills that man because he said the man was, he cheated on him. Infidelity cases between a man and a man. Well, how productive of vast amounts of evils in death, in the lives of those people who dare enter into such unions. You see the movies, they paint them so well, such that somebody is confident when they enter in such a union, everything will be settled. All their heartaches will be settled. All their evil pleasures will be sorted. But when you get there, vanity of vanities is what we shall meet there. And you see, we saw that neither physical health nor mental vigor is promoted in such base unions. And the parties who are concerned in entering such unions are seriously affected for ill. And you see, the trouble is that many resonate of heathenism and will not listen to reason or instruction from a Christian point of view. So long as they, you see, people minds are so narrow, they'll think, those are just Christians' rules. I'm not a Christian, or even I don't believe them. Even if I'm a Christian, I'll not believe whatever God says. It's like when Eve wanted to be elevated to another status. And how can you be elevated to another status while your creator is God? And so you think that if I eat this fruit, I'll know more than what God intended for me. And you see people are plucking those fruits even today to be elevated into another sphere of pleasure, sphere of happiness and peace. And what do they get there after the elevation? They fall far below where God intended them to be. So may God help us. May God help you. May God help me to be contented with what God meant for me, with what is written in the Word of God. Because unless you created yourself is when you can bring new rules to guide your life. But if the one who created you has lived for millions and millions of years, don't you think that he knows what's best for us? May God help me. May God help you to just be contented with what God saw and has regulated it for our lives. A holy marriage between a man and a woman. God bless you.